It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we break down Divisional Weekend in the National Football League, including big headlines from Patrick Mahomes to Drew Brees and Tom Brady. All that plus fight talk with Carlos Martinez and so much more. Before we begin, we would like to thank our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Chief Graphics. As always, big thanks to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for all their support of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. It's time for another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. It all starts right now.
Glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
All right. Welcome back to another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. As always, you know me. I'm Josh Kirby. We're sponsored by Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Chief Graphics. Once again, big thanks to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for all their support of the Kirby on Sports Podcast as well. Another week of playoff football, and it just makes me sadder each and every week knowing that in just a couple more weeks, we will have no more football. Breaking down Divisional Weekend of the NFL playoffs are my guys, Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez, in the three-man booth. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
Pretty good, can't complain.
Well. Yeah, hanging in there.
You know, what else is there to be said, you know?
Surviving and thriving, living the dream.
Surviving and thriving.
You know, 2021, we see a light at the end of the tunnel eventually.
Oh, I hope.
Eventually.
Eventually.
That's good.
And we got 3 more football games, and then it's back into the dark ages.
It's going to be sad times, boys.
It will be sad.
So let's enjoy this, boys. Let's enjoy this.
Let's enjoy it, man. Let's really enjoy this. We're going to go in order as we usually do for the divisional games as they happened. It was Saturday and Sunday. So first and foremost, let's start off with the Rams and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, obviously, the Packers, this was I want to say a solid game for both teams. There were no turnovers whatsoever. It just came down to Green Bay putting 484 total rushing yards over the Rams' 244 rushing yards. There was no way you could stop Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely no way. He only had 3 incompletions the entire game. Threw for 2 touchdowns, rushed for a touchdown as well. The Rams just couldn't keep up. And I mean, in Lambeau, that's hard to do when it's playoff football. And I'm not sure what much there is to say about this game, except for the fact that the Packers were in Lambeau in January, and we all know the narrative with that.
Well, but evidently it wasn't that cold up there, according to Aaron Rodgers. But I guess maybe for Green Bay, like the Packers, it's not that cold. But maybe for, the spoiled stooges of LA, it's probably cold for them.
I feel like that was a factor as well, because Los Angeles being as warm as it is all the time, going up to Green Bay, that was probably a factor as well, playing in conditions that were colder than what they're used to being in.
I don't know. I just feel
don't
like
know
it's
about that.
just I just feel like Green Bay is just a better team. That's it. Like they're on fire right now. They're
Yeah.
playing lights out. Aaron Rodgers, the MVP of the season, is just playing fantastic. And man, it was a fun game to watch, especially when Aaron did his rushing touchdown.
Oh yeah.
And
He
pump
faked
faked it.
everybody out there.
He pump faked that guy's soul into heaven.
Oh
'cause
my
that dude
gosh.
jumped.
It was like, oh, here you go. I'm gonna throw it. Nope, take it in. It
Yeah,
was
no, that was
it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I was like, that's something Aaron Rodgers would do.
Yeah, there's just not much to be said. It's just Aaron Rodgers is on another level right now. He's
Oh,
playing
yeah.
fantastic. And I just this Packers team this season, they just feel more confident and more like because last season it was like they were trying to get comfortable because it was Matt LaFleur, just LaFleur, his first season. So it felt like at the beginning of the season, their defense was playing great, but the offense wasn't there. Then their offense got good, but their defense wasn't there. And then by the time they got to this point, the championship game against San Francisco, San Francisco, of course, ran all over them. But this year, this team just feels different. Like they just feel more confident. It feels like both sides of the football are playing at a high level when they need to. Like they're peaking at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll tell you what really Jared Goff actually really impressed me in this game because I didn't think he was going to play that well, especially considering he's got 3 pins in his thumb, and you're playing in cold weather. I thought for sure that he was going to play pretty bad, but it actually got a little concerning not too concerning, but it got pretty close at one point where I thought, oh no, here goes Green Bay again. Like they play well in the first half, and then in the second half they hold on for dear life. But then no, Green Bay turned it around. As soon as it got close, then Green Bay turned it back on, and they're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the big key coming into this game was, how is the Packers offensive line going to go against Aaron Donald and this defensive line for the Rams? I think it was a big challenge coming in. And, the Packers proved that they are the better team. They dominated pretty much at the point of attack and really protected Aaron Rodgers really well.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was really the key. And that opened up Jones having a good game, 99 rushing yards and a touchdown. Lazard having a good game. Adams, of course. I mean, this Packers team, I totally agree with Carlos. They've kind of been flying below the radar, I think, in a lot of ways, because I think a lot of the national media has been talking about the AFC teams, especially Buffalo and Kansas City. But Green Bay, I think, is a Super Bowl contending team, and they have been since the playoffs started and even before that. And they just proved that. They're a much better team and much more solid. And it didn't seem like a very big deal to them that they won that game, if you know what I mean. It's just like Aaron Rodgers has been here so much. He's played in so many big games. He's only won 1 Super Bowl, of course. But I think this is the chance for Green Bay now to, kind of reassert themselves into a top tier team in the NFL, because they've been in big games before. Like we said last year, of course, in the Afc Championship Game. And like you said, Carlos, things didn't go well against the 49ers, but, the point is they've been here before and they took care of business. And, I really do credit the Rams, especially Jared Goff, for playing well. I mean, 21 of 27 is nothing to scoff at. He didn't throw an interception, and just to be able to play, much less play as well as he did with that surgically repaired thumb is unbelievable to me. So, the Rams are a good football team. I think they have a pretty good future. They just got to keep developing Cam Akers, and he's going to be a great running back in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, Akers is young, but I see a lot of talent out of that guy. He looked really good. He really impressed me. 18 carries, 90 yards, as you said.
Where did Akers go to college? I don't remember.
He went to Florida State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He did. Now that I think about it, you're right.
So does it surprise either of you that this is the first time Aaron Rodgers is playing in an NFC Championship game in Lambeau?
Yeah, I was gonna actually bring that up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That it's so crazy to think that even the year that they went to the Super Bowl, that was in Chicago. Then I think after that it was in Seattle, and then Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then this is gonna be and then obviously last year San Francisco, and then this is gonna be the first one, in Lambeau, which is absolutely well because I mean. Before when they've been I remember it was the year after they won the Super Bowl. I think they went like 15-1 and then they lost to the Giants in the first round. So they never even made it to the championship game. And that was like their best shot at it. And then obviously they've always been like the lower seed just coming into the championship game. And then obviously it's also been like unlucky. It's like remember the championship game against Seattle it was for Super Bowl, what was it, 49? That they went to against the Patriots, but then the championship game, like Seattle made that miraculous comeback.
Yeah.
And like, even though they had like no shot at winning that game, but somehow made it work.
Yeah, I remember that clearly.
Yeah. It's just been unlucky for Aaron Rodgers lately, but like, I really do think that this, like, if there was any year that he's going to make the Super Bowl, it's this year. Like he's playing at an unbelievable level. And also, they have the advantage coming into because apparently on Sunday it's going to be cold and snowy in Lambeau.
Ooh.
And obviously you got Tampa coming up, which of course we'll get to them later on. And Brady says his blood isn't as thick as it used to be since he's been living down in Florida. So
he's got that old man syndrome. Yeah.
Who knows? But
one thing I'm impressed with too is just how Rodgers, especially this year, but he just connects so well with his receivers and his running backs. I see that. And it seems like he's having a lot more fun this year than he's had in years past. And I think that makes a big difference too. Like people don't talk about that enough, but there's just a connection there that I think is super strong. And we've just seen how it's really served Aaron Rodgers well. He doesn't look like he's, in his 16th season. So, it's just impressive to watch him continue to play as well as he plays, throw for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and really not have any rust at all or any sign of slowing down, unlike some of his counterparts this weekend.
Okay. We're both trying to talk at the same time. Kirby, you go. This is your show, buddy. You go.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So I was gonna piggyback off of Dan's point. I really think Aaron Rodgers has a great group of receivers. And that's another reason why I thought Green Bay just had a great game, because you have Alan Lazard, as you said, over 90 yards, Adams 66, Tanyan 60 yards. I mean, with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and the weapons that he's throwing to, it makes everybody look good. And that's why I also think the defensive line always steps up, because Aaron Rodgers, we all know how good Aaron Rodgers is, the story of Aaron Rodgers. And then if the O-line does not protect Aaron Rodgers, it wouldn't make for a good game. And in my opinion, I just think that everybody just clicked together in this game, and it was a full, complete football game. And I really give credit to the receivers, though, because they really looked great. Aaron Rodgers was throwing dimes pretty much all night.
Yeah, he did miss that big one to Alan Lazard, though. There was
I saw that one.
But to Dan's point about Aaron Rodgers having fun, because as you guys, I don't know if you watch every Tuesday on McAfee show. He's on there every Tuesday, he's been saying this whole entire season that the big difference this year is that he's just happier. Like he said today, like this is the happiest he's been, in the past few years. Like he's just like completely changed his mindset, and really like he's just really about like not letting outside things or things said about him or whatever like affect him. Like he is who he is, and he's just he's just going to have fun with it. And of course, we're still waiting to figure out what the hell he saw in the practice film from 2010 that's really like helping him this year. But, again, like we all know the story about the Packers this year. Like this offseason, they didn't really get him anything. In fact, they drafted his successor, and I think that really, kind of
motivated him.
Well, he says it didn't, but for sure, I think it definitely kind of motivated him. I don't think it's been like his base motivation, but I think it definitely like pushed him. But for me, the biggest revelation throughout this whole season has been Alan Lazard. Like that he's pretty good. Like he's a solid number 2.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Devonte Adams, he's flown under the radar for a long time, and now that he's finally like emerging as like the great receiver he is. Because like obviously like his first major game was against the Patriots one year, and where he like balled out, and I was like, damn, that dude's gonna be a problem. And now that he's like finally like, coming into his own and like being this like dominant receiver that he is, it's just the stars are aligning perfectly for the Packers right now, and they need to capitalize on it and get Aaron Rodgers another Super Bowl.
Yeah. Hands down. That's I believe that Aaron Rodgers needs another Super Bowl. I mean, he's already going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I think that just adds to his resume if Green Bay makes it back to the Super Bowl and he wins. Because Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. And if you look on paper, one Super Bowl just does not seem like enough for Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to address, you said earlier how he's been on Pat McAfee, and he talked about how happy he's been this year. It makes you wonder if really, when Mike McCarthy was there, if things were really as bad as people said they were, as far as, his relationship with this head coach at that time. LaFleur came in, and there's kind of a sense there that, he's not really hands-on with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers has been doing this for 15, 16 years now. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's had success. He's one of the best pure passers, I think, as far as in the pocket passers we've ever seen. I don't think people would argue with that. And so he just lets Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers, and maybe that's one reason why there's some of that weight lifted off his shoulders. I can't speak to the exact approach that Mike McCarthy used, but there was a lot of talk about a sour relationship for several years between he and Aaron Rodgers, and it kind of makes you wonder if LaFleur has really made all the difference, which he took over a talented team, no doubt, but letting your quarterback kind of do his own thing is huge, especially if you want to win a Super Bowl, which I really think this Packers team can do it.
Yeah, well, the thing about Mike McCarthy apparently was that Aaron wanted to do more things on the offensively, but Mike McCarthy was set on doing it like this in this old school way, which we've kind of seen in Dallas, where he's like kind of set in his ways.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And of course, we'll see how things go next season with Dallas in year 2, and where maybe hopefully we'll have a normal off season and time to like really build things up. But that was the main thing, is that Mike McCarthy wanted to do things one way, and Aaron Rodgers saw how the league was changing and knew that they needed to do it another way. So that was really where the rift really started. And then also when you're together for a long, we saw it. It even happened with, the best quarterback coach duo in Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Guys eventually you guys just get sick of each other and you got to go your separate ways.
That's a good point.
All right. So the Green Bay Packers, 32 over the Los Angeles Rams, 18 in the frozen tundra. The next game on Divisional Weekend.
Oh man!
Oh
Here
yeah.
we go.
Dan, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to address the elephant in the room. The Ravens.
Are we just gonna give the floor straight to Dan, or are we gonna give our thoughts first?
Yeah, I'm just addressing the elephant in the room. The Ravens lost. Sorry, Dan. Our condolences, but this was a very
hell of a season, though. Hell of a season.
Absolutely.
The fact that we were 6-5 and we were able to make the playoffs at all is amazing. So
and you guys Lamar finally won a playoff game.
That's right.
Oh yeah,
So,
he did. The critics,
we're making progress. We're
the
making
critics
progress.
can stop saying he hasn't won a playoff game. So this game was really weird to me. This game was very weird to me because it was windy. I mean, it did not snow, so the critics were wrong. It did not snow. Lamar Jackson didn't have to worry about that. But the wind was brutal. And I mean, I hate to say it, but Justin Tucker, just 2 short chip shots that the wind took. I don't think that was Tucker's fault. I honestly don't. But it was the wind. And I was joking. I text Dan and I'm like, is that considered a double doink? But I mean, straight up, I mean, how rare is that you see a kicker miss 2 field goals off both uprights? I thought that was incredible. But anyways, the wind just played a factor in this game, hands down. In the rushing attack, it was not there. You had to rely like mainly on the quarterbacks. That's from what I've seen. And
I agree.
I mean, it was an evenly matched game, in my opinion, but it was just Justin Tucker, unfortunately, missing those 2 field goals. And the Bills, I don't think they had that great of a game. You know, I mean, they played well. Allen 23 for 37 and a touchdown. And you have Stephon Diggs making a touchdown pass as well, 106 yards. But I mean, I didn't think this looked like a normal Bills team who is coming all together. Josh Allen making these great throws because I think the wind just played a big part in how this game went. And
it was the wind and the Baltimore let's not get it twisted. That Baltimore defense held their own for as long as they could.
Oh yeah, absolutely they did.
And unfortunately, it was just the run game couldn't get going. The wind was affecting a lot of Lamar and Josh Allen's passes.
Yep.
The wind was affecting both teams. That's how come you see Buffalo didn't necessarily play the best game either. Don't forget it was 3-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then it was that third quarter that killed Buffalo. And then what really sealed it was, of course, the pick 6, which I'm pretty sure Dan is going to get into.
No, that pick 6. I mean, I'm not really sure what
it was. Not good. It was not a good pick 6.
But it was impressive how he took it from the end zone all the way. That was the game changer. If that pick 6 didn't have happened, I have a feeling this game would have been closer or the Ravens would have won.
Yeah, that's a pick 6 that'll crush. That'll just crush any chances of you coming back. When you bring it back 101 yards, that's nuts. But I do want to. I mean, what Lamar needs to work on this offseason is just his accuracy. That's it. Like, he was pretty inaccurate this game. And Baltimore needs to just draft a receiver, just a solid number 1 receiver who's gonna change the game. Like, you have to, all eyes have to be on him too. You guys, if they get that done, then they'll be fine. I mean, Baltimore they just kind of laid an egg. I won't lie. In this game,
it really sucks though, because Lamar Jackson getting concussed towards the end of that game, and Huntley had to come in and finish it out. I mean, that was just heartbreaker. That just added insult to injury, in my opinion. And I mean, hats off to Lamar. He is a heck of an athlete. I enjoy watching him play, even though he's not a standard style quarterback as we discussed. So, but still, I enjoy watching him play. And I can agree with you, Dan. Yes, he could work on his accuracy more, but he gets the job done on the ground. So,
I would have said that too.
Yeah, but it sucks. But what really made me feel better about it was the fact that Bills fans donated to Lamar's charity afterwards. Really cool. And I was like, hats off to the Bills fans. I mean, the Bills fans, they had 6,800 and people said it sounded like 68,000 in the stands. And I'm like, I mean, they're not terrible people because they care about the opposing team.
Well, think about how long it's been. Think about how long it's been since
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo has had this type of success. Think about how long it's been since Buffalo even had a home playoff game. Now they're playing in the divisional round, and they're, fans are allowed, in the stadium. They're, and we know Bills Mafia is absolutely nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
pre-gaming, they're going through tables, back in, a few years ago, they were throwing, certain objects onto the field.
Yeah. Remember, though, when the Bengals upset the Ravens in Week 17 that got the Bills into the playoffs? They donated to Andy Dalton's charity.
Listen, Bills Mafia, there's also this like weird, strange like love fest going on with the media and Bills Mafia, where like everybody's now like a huge Bills Mafia, network, and they all just like are embracing them. But I mean, Bills Mafia is like one of the best fan bases out there, and they've gone under the radar because of how bad Buffalo has been, the past, decade or so. And just now recently they're starting to become good again. But I think it's time we turn it to Dan and hear his thoughts on the game.
Yeah. Well, me and Carlos discussed it, but Dan, being a follower of this team, we just want to get your thoughts all around about this game and essentially what the Ravens could do to make it even farther in seasons to come.
Well, I'll start by saying, as far as the offense is concerned, the Ravens have really kind of gotten away with having what many would call a patchwork offensive line. And the Bills just exploited their offensive line in every way, even rushing, 3 people. I mean, Lamar didn't have much time to throw when he did drop back. And there were several times when, he had to get rid of the ball in a second. And the problem with a lot of the route concepts that the Ravens run is they don't really run much short stuff. They do medium and long passing routes, which very much hurt the passing game, especially when they fell behind. So that's how I'll start. Lamar didn't play very well, that's for sure. Of course, the pick six was was obviously the exclamation point for the Bills. I mean, if that pick six doesn't happen, and we end up, even if we don't end up scoring a touchdown there, it's 10-6 with still a whole another quarter left to play. So, that was obviously probably one of the worst throws he's ever had. I would say it's up there, but I don't really know what else on that play. Watching that play over and over, I don't know what else was open. I don't think anything was really open. Maybe in that situation where it's 3rd and 9 from the 9-yard line, you just put it in Lamar's hands. He takes off and you should try to take off and make a play. So there was a lot of, the Bills they dared the Ravens to throw the football. And I think in these windy conditions, we saw Josh Allen struggle too. He didn't play poorly, but he didn't play as well as he normally does. And we saw him overthrow many open receivers. I think there was at least 3 or 4 times where he had Diggs wide open and missed him, John Brown a couple times. So, it affected him too. So I just think in general, the Bills, they knew that they had to stop the run, and they shut down the Ravens running attack. And it's almost mirrors last year's loss to the Titans in the first round, where the Ravens couldn't run the football and they had to put it in Lamar's hands. And the pressure on Lamar in last year's game and in this game was immense. I mean, the guy didn't have time to make any decisions at all. So I think that was a big reason why he struggled. And, the Ravens, they have a lot to fix offensively. I mean, we see how good that defense is. I mean, they only held the Bills to 10 points because, you take away that pick six because the defense obviously didn't give up that touchdown. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at, a defense that only gave up 10 points to one of the highest scoring offenses in the National Football League. So I'm happy with how the defense played. The offense, first thing they have to focus on, I think, is getting that offensive line healthy. They were missing 2 key starters, and it really showed at times this season. They had been able to kind of get away with it, I think, in a way, because they let Lamar kind of do more of what he wanted to do. But you could see that it just wasn't working. I mean, they tried to run quarterback sweep a couple times, But the Bills were ready. The Bills studied the film. The Bills knew what was coming just about every time the Ravens tried anything. And, that's what happens. You only score 3 points in a playoff game, and that's what it gets you. And then, of course, the 2 Justin Tucker misses were absolutely heartbreaking to see. And, I mean,
because Tucker's spot on.
Well, he's one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history, if not the most. I'm not sure if he is now after those misses. I'd have to go look, but here's a guy who doesn't miss inside of 50 yards. I think let me see what the stat was here. I
mean, while he's looking for that, Tucker's reaction just said it all. Like, he could not believe he missed those.
Justin, it was the first
Tucker,
time. Oh, sorry, it was the first time in his career that he missed 2 kicks inside of 50 yards in the same game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And even with those misses, Justin Tucker is still the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
Yeah,
I figured as much. Yeah, that win was crazy, and he had a quote in here where he said basically, you just have to kick the ball and hope it goes where you want it to go, which I thought was funny because it sounds a lot harder than that. But he's had so much success with it. But yeah, it was just a frustrating game overall offensively. The defense, I thought, gave the Ravens several opportunities. And also the Bills missed 2 field goals as well. So that's another thing people don't talk about a lot. It was obvious the win was a big factor, but I know everyone's I kind of spouted off on Twitter about how Lamar is not a playoff quarterback. He's the opposite of Joe Flacco, where he has a great regular season and he chokes in the playoffs. And first of all, I was on pain medication for
fair. That's fair. That's fair
for wisdom teeth. And the guy's only 24 years old. So maybe I should just chill. He's barely older than I am. So what gives me the right to give him crap? So
that's the thing about Lamar, like, really quick, is that, like, he's still young, like, he's only 24, like, and it's just because Patrick Mahomes has set the standard of what you should be. Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent.
Yeah.
He's young. They're about the same age, I think.
Yep.
Like, Lamar Jackson is still developing. He's not in his prime yet. He's not even in his physical prime yet. So, like, he still has plenty of time to develop. But Baltimore has to help him out and get him some weapons. And one thing that we have not touched on, I feel like, is those 2 really, really bad snaps that really hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
What
was
it was the whole game. It was the whole game, right? The snaps weren't the best, but there was 2 really egregious snaps that I can remember in this game that really derailed anything that Baltimore could do.
So that's been happening in several games throughout the season. So the original starter, Matt Skura, had a terrible game against the Patriots, and that was one of the regular season losses that I thought was going to put the Ravens out of the playoffs. It was a bad game, similar to this, but they had more turnovers, and I think they lost 2 or 3 fumbles on terrible snaps. So he was benched, and Patrick McCarry is the backup center, and he's been snapping ever since, but he's had issues too, and there was at least 5 or 6 snaps that were bad snaps that Lamar had to. There was one where he had to pick it up, and he ran and picked up 2 yards. I don't know how, but that's just simple. And no other team in the playoffs has struggled like they have with snaps all season long. So that's got to be the first thing.
You're forgetting about Pittsburgh, Dan.
Oh, well, that's but the thing is, their center's been doing it for 13, 14 years. So,
yeah.
But sorry, I take a drink of water.
But snap.
It's simple stuff.
You barely hear anything about the center because it's just like, oh, the center just snaps the ball. It's the easiest thing to do.
Right.
But
it's not.
It's sort of complex in my opinion, but still, you never hear about a problem with snapping.
No, you don't. And but the reality is they've had issues with it all season. And excuse me, I'm burping now. In a playoff situation.
Oh my gosh.
you just can't have those types of mistakes and expect to win. those are things that can't happen. And obviously the pick six is inexcusable. He never should have thrown that ball. Just get out of the pocket and run. I mean, you're at the 9-yard line. You got the fastest player, or one of the fastest players in the NFL. I don't know how he compares to Tyreek Hill, but they're both, I would say, pretty comparable. I think as far as open field, I think Lamar's probably faster, but just try to at least get closer to kick the field goal if you're not going to get the touchdown. But he wanted to make the big play, and it was a bad read. I mean, there was 4 defenders around there. It was extremely dangerous, and what a play. I mean, what a play to return that 101 yards. It was, I couldn't believe it. And, Teron Johnson, that was a fantastic run after the catch too. I mean, it was a frustrating game for the Ravens, but I think they have a lot to build on, and, teams see that. I think we see now that maybe the run first approach that they've been using all season, it's not going to work in the playoffs really. You have to have a more complex passing game, and like I said, I think it's all 3 levels. I think it's on the quarterback, it's on the offensive line, and it's on the receivers to run, smart routes, because most of the time you're not going to have, the quarterback's not going to have time to wait for a receiver to get 10 or 15 yards downfield, especially with how bad the offensive line played and how much penetration Buffalo was getting throughout the game and throughout all 4 quarters. So, credit them. They deserve all the credit in the world, and they have one of the best and most loyal fan bases. Think of all those years. It had been since '94, since they had was it host a playoff game or it was host a playoff game.
Yeah, hosting a playoff game. And New York made exceptions to make sure there were fans in the stands too, which is great.
Yeah, and they watched while the Patriots had their dynasty from 2000 really to last year, and it's just amazing. Those fans are dedicated, and they deserve it. I mean, they're diehard fans, and I'm definitely rooting for Buffalo on Sunday, but they just had a better game plan defensively, and they knew that they have to stop J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson, and they did that. I mean, they held them all to under 50 yards rushing, and that was the key. That was the key to stop the Ravens. Force Lamar to throw the ball. And I also, like Carlos mentioned, he doesn't have the receivers. I mean, Hollywood Brown's played well recently.
But he's not a number one.
No. He's had some really nice plays in the postseason. I think Andrews is hit or miss. I mean, they missed him 7 times on Sunday. So they just don't.
Isn't what he used to be.
No, I mean, he was targeted once. I had to look in the stat sheet. I didn't even think he was targeted, but they need a receiver. I also said Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, should be fired. And I've gotten a lot of fire from that, especially from my brother, who I think he makes some pretty good takes. But
was that Dan or Dan on pain meds?
It was a little of both, to be honest with you.
He was he was coming down from the pain meds.
Yeah, it was a tough couple of days, both with this game and with the wisdom teeth. So, I don't know. I mean, they've got to change a lot, and it starts in all 3 areas. And I definitely agree with Carlos. I think Lamar's got to work on his accuracy, and sometimes it seems like he aims the ball. He doesn't follow through to his target. He doesn't just step and throw. He seems to try to aim the ball, and a lot of times that's where you get those erratic throws. And everybody's compared to Patrick Mahomes just because it's just, and it shouldn't be that way, because he's a human highlight reel, and he's just unreal to watch. So watching Patrick Mahomes throw its sidearm is absolutely insane. I mean, he throws the sidearm better than most quarterbacks throw it regularly. So I think my point is there's a lot of different ways, Lamar can be an effective passer. And I'm going to finish my rant here in a minute, but it's, late in the season when they had to win, it was getting outside the pocket and getting on the edges and making those throws. And we didn't see that. Buffalo did a good job of containing the end. And when Lamar tried to scramble, they forced him either back into the pocket or they sacked him. And, that was the difference in this game. Buffalo's defense, which, had been hammered on a lot about, they're not going to be able to stop this Baltimore rushing attack. Give them a lot of credit. They listened to the critics all week, and they answered big time.
So, Dan, let me ask you this. Do you think Baltimore has another shot in the near future of making it back into the playoffs and going even farther?
Oh, absolutely. I think they have the talent there. I just think it takes a little bit better scheming. And the big key for them and for every team, obviously, is staying healthy. Like I said, when you lose 2 offensive linemen, who were key last year as far as their 14-2 season, that's huge. And that's understated a lot of times. So I think if they can stay healthy next year and, Lamar can continue to develop as a passer, they either draft a receiver or they go after someone in free agency. I think they'll be fine because I think that defense is good enough to make a Super Bowl run. And we saw how well they played. They only gave up 10 points.
Absolutely.
To the Buffalo Bills. So, yeah, I was impressed by the defense. But other than that, it couldn't have been a worse day, really, for the Ravens.
Yeah, like we know defensively, like the Ravens are solid. Like they're good, Queen has been playing pretty well. Like he was such a get when they drafted him. And just defensively, I don't have any fears for Baltimore. It's offensively where they need to figure that stuff out because, they just released Mark Ingram today, right?
Yeah.
And
because they're making room for the young talent. Obviously, I mean Ingram played well. I feel bad for him, but I mean
he'll be on
Dobbins
another team
and Gus Edwards. They're the future for Baltimore, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's just like Dan said. Like they need to work on that offensive line. They need to be able to give Lamar more time back there because he's not at the point where he's not at an Aaron Rodgers level or a Patrick Mahomes level where he can just get the ball out in 2 seconds real quick. He's not there yet. He'll get there. I imagine he'll get there as his career goes on, but he's not there yet. He's still developing as a passer. The thing about Baltimore is this was their season from hell. They had that whole COVID thing happen in the middle of the season where they lost a lot of their players, and just things it took them a while to get going, throughout the season. But once they got going, once they were back at the peak of their powers, they looked pretty much unstoppable. And I just think that they just ran into a better team. And then also just the weather wasn't, in their favor. And then Lamar getting concussed at the end, right now, I don't think Baltimore I don't think Lamar can win 3 or 4 games in a row to get you to the Super Bowl right now. But I do believe that within the next few seasons, if they put the right things around him, he'll definitely he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with that.
I'm watching a play now. This was the play before the pick 6. It was 2nd down and 9. Lamar dropped back and immediately Tyree Phillips and J.K. Dobbins whiffed on a blocker, and Lamar had to throw way off his back foot, and it was terribly inaccurate. So, I mean, that's basically what I'm talking about. It's if they pick up that block there was a wide open receiver. I think it was it looked like it was Hollywood Brown. So that's a touchdown right there. And then all of a sudden they're winning that game, or the game's tied. So it's just the little things you have to do well in the playoffs if you're going to beat better competition. And they really, everything that could go wrong for them went wrong in this game. So and I agree, Carlos. I think maybe not next year. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team next year, but I think definitely in the next 2 to 3 years, if they continue to build and develop, that offense around Lamar, they definitely can be. I really agree with that.
Absolutely. So the Buffalo Bills breaking tables and moving right along to the AFC Championship game, 17-3 over the Baltimore Ravens. Once again, I'm Josh, riding with me, Dan and Carlos. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we finish talking divisional weekend in the NFL, plus a special segment from Carlos and more. I'd like to take a moment to talk about my friends over at Regroup Building Services, specializing in custom homes, remodels, additions, and so much more. If you're looking for a new place to call home or just need repairs on your current one, look no further, because Regroup Building Services has you covered. Just a couple months ago, Regroup Building Services came in and redid our entire kitchen, and boy, does it look great. I cannot recommend them enough. So if you're looking for anything to be done, make sure you check them out at www.regroupbuildingservices.com. Once again, that's www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. PM Plus, providing capital reserve studies for condominium and homeowners associations in Northern Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. for the past 30 years. Now serving the I-81 corridor from Hagerstown, Maryland to Stanton, Virginia. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram, or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, welcome back. Once again, I'm Josh, riding with me, Dan and Carlos. Gentlemen, 2 more games of Divisional Weekend. It's sort of heartbreaking because, as we mentioned, there are only 3 more football games left in the entire season. It sucks, but
Yeah.
here we are. Let's discuss the next 2 games from Divisional Weekend, the Chiefs and the Browns. And I tell you, I have a lot to talk about from this game.
This was probably the game of the week, or game of the round, in my opinion.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. So you look from the beginning, and it just looks like, yeah, the Chiefs might just run away with it. The Browns looked good, but it's like I just had the sense the Chiefs are going to end up running away with this because the Browns wouldn't have enough in the tank.
Yeah.
Then later on down, I mean, the Browns just kept making good plays. I got to credit Higgins and Njoku. They just looked really good out there. Great targets for Baker Mayfield as he threw 23 for 37, 204 yards with a touchdown and an interception. That interception set the Chiefs up in the red zone. They could not convert. They ended up missing a field goal, if I remember correctly. But still, the Browns found ways to keep themselves in this game. And this probably got Browns fans, this game probably had Browns fans on the edge of their seat the entire ball game. And then where it gets really interesting, Patrick Mahomes running on a play ends up getting knocked out. and he's out with a concussion, which is really, really serious when it comes to Chiefs fans. Patrick Mahomes. And then you have Chad Henne, quarterback that's been in the league since 2008. And he puts the team on his back. And I mean, the athleticism of Chad
I don't know about
Henne
that.
is incredible. I mean, he was just a backup quarterback that needed to get the job done, and he did that. Most backup quarterbacks, like, I don't want to say falter under pressure, but I mean, I don't think they have enough to handle all the pressure. But
You always got to be ready, though.
But he was ready. He was ready to go. He was 6 for 8, threw an interception in the end zone. That was sort of like a punt. But
Really, really bad interception.
Yeah,
that was
very-
really bad.
But Chad Henne, he rushed for like, how many yards was it? It was 12 yards. Like, he had 2 rushing attempts for 12 yards. And it was crazy because it was like, I don't remember how long it was, but he made it almost to the first down. And then
No, he got it.
Yeah, no, he got it. And then there was another play towards the end of the game where they had to go for it since Cleveland ran out of timeouts. They went for it on 4th and 1 in the gun. And how gutsy of a call was that? Andy Reid just rolled Chad Henne out, throw it to Tyreek Hill, and slide down to the ground. That was the most incredible finish I've ever seen. For Browns fans, though, keep your head up because the Browns will be back in it. I guarantee that. I guarantee the Browns will be back in this playoffs sooner rather than later. And I just thought it was a crazy game. But I'm sure we'll discuss this more in the segment, but Patrick Mahomes, will he be ready for next week? It's going to be very interesting, boys, but let's get your thoughts.
Yeah. I feel like you're kind of hyping this thing up a little too much. I don't think Chad Henne came out and lit up the world.
No, absolutely not. But he did what he needed to do.
Yeah,
he just
but
looked
getting
at
excited about Chad Henne.
I don't know, Kirby. You're kind of making it seem like he came out and he completed 6 passes for 66 yards. He threw an awful interception. Chad Henne, all he did was just keep them, pretty much just kept the ball away from Cleveland long enough to where they couldn't have a chance to win the game.
I said carried the team on his back. I should
have
not
carry. He did not carry the team.
Listen. So I should have said he put his body on the line for the team. Because
I don't even know about that.
You didn't see that run? What he did? He dived for the first down. Are we talking about the same thing here?
No.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't know about.
Yeah, I feel like you're hyping Chad Henne a little too much for what he did. He was serviceable. That's what he was.
Well,
I mean,
that's what you need. And I just think he did the job well. And he had that great run for the first down. So they didn't turn the ball over back to Cleveland.
It just feels like you're hyping up the bare minimum here. Like, that's basically what Chad Henne did. He did the bare minimum to make sure that Kansas City didn't lose. Well, he didn't win the game. He just kept them
obviously
from losing.
He didn't. But I just think it was a great performance by him. I thought that run was amazing, though, because he put his body on the line.
Kirby, I don't know. Listen, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree here. I don't think Chad Henne's performance was anything to be admired or anything like that. It was a very standard backup quarterback coming in so that the team doesn't lose performance. Chad Henne, this is the first time he's ever played in a playoff game too. I'll give him that. He's a 13-year vet. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I was like, man, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, but to the actual game itself, though, yeah, by halftime it was already 19-3. I thought it was pretty much over. I was like, and especially on, I think it was the first drive that the Chiefs scored on. It just looked like Kansas City was going to have their way with with Cleveland, especially considering Myles Garrett kept having to come out of the game. Where the game obviously changed and where it gave Cleveland life was when Patrick Mahomes went out with the so-called concussion, which has not been actually ruled a concussion. It seems what
looked
happened,
like a neck injury. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought he was in the concussion protocol, though. Was
so
it?
That's
what they always say.
So he's in the protocol right now because there's such thing called a spinal concussion, which is something that Sidney Crosby had for like a whole season, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. You get concussion like symptoms, but it's not an actual like concussion.
Oh,
but what they're saying right now is that it could have been a nerve injury, because when you look at that play, that his head never hit the ground.
Yeah, that was a weird looking play to me, to be honest.
It really, and the way he got up all wobbly and stuff. To me, it looked a lot like how, a UFC fighter looks like after he gets like choked out, or, he's just wobbly, and yeah, once Patrick Mahomes went out, that's when all the Chiefs fans started getting nervous. I started getting nervous because I'm rooting for the Chiefs here in the playoffs. I got nervous when he went out because I was like, oh no, especially when I heard Chad Henne's coming in, because I was like, Chad Henne's not the best. I want to give props to Cleveland, though. They had one hell of a season also. To go from, being the most hyped up team last season and, being such a dud, and then this season, losing Odell Beckham Jr., which I think actually helped the team a lot more somehow.
Yeah, they meshed better, yeah.
Yeah, losing Odell, and just like really like coming together, even when it looked a little dicey, and and then to beat Pittsburgh the way they did, and then to even come in here, and albeit Patrick Mahomes went out injured, but it's not as if they were playing a very you lost the best player in football went out of the game, but like Kansas City's still a formidable team, and for them to really push Kansas City to the limit, I really their future is bright. I think Cleveland is. I think Cleveland should be proud of their team because they took the champs to the limit, and it took a gutsy. Andy Reid with his, just, putting his, balls out there and just, just going for it on 4th and 1. Even, even Tony Romo was, surprised because he thought
so happy.
Tony Romo was acting like a fan. How loud he was.
I mean, did anybody here think that they were going to go for it? I didn't think they were going to go for it.
No, I didn't think so either.
Like Romo said, like, their body language wasn't even like that of a team that was going to go for it. And then not only that, they didn't wait until it got down to 1 second. They went on the play clock. They went for it when there was still like 6 seconds left. So I feel like what happened was Cleveland also relaxed because they realized, because they started thinking, oh, they're not going to go for it. Let's just stay where we are. And all of a sudden he snaps it and quickly throws it to Tyreek Hill. And, if you get it to Tyreek Hill, he's going to get that first down.
That's really smart though.
Yeah, it was a fantastic play. It was an exciting finish because we knew that if Kansas City didn't get this, albeit Cleveland didn't have any timeouts and they still had like a minute, they would have a minute, like 10 seconds maybe still left in the game. They would have to go like I don't remember how many yards. They would have to go a long distance in that amount of time. But the way the momentum had shifted, it was in Cleveland's favor. A big mistake that happened was they punted it on their last drive, and they gave Kansas City the chance to run out the clock. But I mean, before Patrick Mahomes went out, this Kansas City team looked pretty good, and it's going to be interesting to see can Patrick Mahomes get back? Apparently, he was good to come back into the game, or he was trying to get back into the game. But
they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him
because of how. I mean, come on, you can't let you saw how we all saw how he got up. He was like he had to be held up, and like he quickly like shook it off. But you can't let a guy come back in when he can barely stand up. Mm-hmm. Especially with all the stuff about concussions and all that. They had to take they had to play the safe route, and it'll be interesting to see if he can get back healthy in time. All signs are pointing to yes. but there's still that possibility of a no, like that he's gonna be able to make it back in time.
And that's my next point. Yeah, we'll touch on it more, but if Patrick Mahomes doesn't go,
well, then Buffalo's gonna win.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean that's crazy. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't play, the odds in Vegas are going to go completely opposite. I guarantee it. And
sure.
It's going to be crazy because the Chiefs are such a great team. As Dan says multiple times, it's always like they're playing on rookie men. And then if you have if you have a Chiefs team without Patrick Mahomes and they end up losing, that's a heartbreaking way to end the season. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think my thoughts about this game, Mahomes was just about as good as you could expect, until he got hurt. And I mean, you guys are right. 19-3 at halftime. I had the same thought you guys did. This game's over. I mean, this is what the Chiefs do, and we all know how strong they come out in the second half most of the time anyway. But give the Browns credit, and especially Baker Mayfield. I've been, a big critic of his, not just because he plays for the Browns, but because I think he's an arrogant SOB. But
I love it sometimes. I loved it when he was in Oklahoma and he was doing all that shit. That was fun.
Yeah, that's when I really started to not like the guy. But anyway, he played really well, and I think we've really seen his progression. Of course, last year, like you said, Carlos, all the hype. They finished 7-9, missed the playoffs, and then we're left with, so what happens this year? And the Browns started the season. They lost big time on the road, 38-6 against the Ravens. But after that, I mean, they didn't have any other really slowdowns. So
against the Jets.
Yeah, true. They also lost on the road to Pittsburgh.
But the Jets won out.
The Raiders too.
But the Jets ones, I'll give them a pass because remember they lost all their wide receivers the day before the game.
Yeah, that was kind of. There's nothing you can really do about that. So they also barely lost, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, Baker. I was impressed with how Baker played, especially going against.
Yeah, he played lights out.
Going against this defensive line. I mean, they got a decent amount of pressure on him, but he was able to escape, get outside the pocket, and make some really clutch throws. The Browns are just the Browns have a bunch of talent, especially on offense. Higgins had a great game, and Njoku had a great game. Peoples-Jones, of course, Landry.
What a name!
They're just loaded. They're just loaded.
Yeah,
and they were able to run the ball decently well. I mean, it with Chubb and Hunt, you can kind of split the load, and they did a good job, I thought, of that. Only 112 rushing yards, but I mean, the Chiefs only had 123. Well,
yeah,
that's because Mahomes threw for 250 yards passing. So, but yeah, I mean, the Browns. This was an impressive game for the Browns, and I really thought after that terrible interception Henny threw, which like you said, Carlos, I don't know if you said it or Kirby said it, but it literally looked like a punt.
That was Kirby.
Yeah,
he just threw it up, and it was like, where's this thing going to land? And I really thought at that point, I thought the Browns were going to win the game because all of a sudden it's a touchback. They have the ball at the 20-yard line, and we're talking about a different game. Also, you guys didn't even talk about the touchdown that was taken off the board. Well, not really.
Oh my God! Yes, you're right.
The fumble through the end zone.
Apparently, that rule's outdated. I mean,
yeah. Apparently, a lot of people hate that rule, but it's just, and they've talked about it before. It's just they can't figure out what to replace that rule with. Even
if that was targeting by the book.
He
literally hit him with the crown of the helmet to his helmet.
Yeah, but we already know.
I'm not sure why the refs didn't call that, but that was targeting 110%.
Yeah, but in the NFL they never call it. In the NFL they never call it. When was the last time you ever got a targeting call? We see it a lot in college, but we never see it in the NFL.
I mean, it was crown of the helmet. The Browns should have had that football.
There was no doubt in my mind that that was targeting for sure.
Yeah,
supposedly it's not reviewable for some reason.
It's not reviewable.
It should be reviewable.
They need to fix that. If there's
because
a
it's
chance
reviewable
of targeting,
in college, why is it not reviewable in the NFL? It's so stupid. Such a stupid rule.
Well, I think in college it's more of they have to call it on on that play. They can't like go back and review it. They have to call it first, then they go review it, and then when it's reviewed, then obviously said person is disqualified for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so there's definitely a gray area there. There's no doubt about it. But
that
was huge. I mean,
that was a huge turning point as well, in my opinion, because I mean, he was diving for the touchdown and the ball gets jarred loose. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on the rule because it never happens, in my opinion. But
but we see when it does happen. Think about it. Cleveland gets that touchdown. The game continues as it would. They would have won this game 24-22. It would have put Kansas City in a. When did that happen? Did that happen before halftime or did it happen after halftime? I think it was before.
I believe it was before. Do not quote me on that, but
let me go back and look at the summary here.
I mean, it's just, I mean, if it's outdated, I'm not sure what they would replace it with. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's the issue. That's why because like, what do you do? Okay, so they because you need to put it to where not every team can just fumble it out of the end zone or something like that.
Fumble it and
that was
40-yard line or something. Who knows?
Yeah, Carlos, you're right. It was right before halftime. It was with 1:42 left in the half. Yeah, so that was huge.
Yeah, think about that. Then it would have been 19. Kansas City, did they go down and score after that?
They kicked the field goal right at the end of the half.
Yeah.
So it would have been 16-10 going into halftime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it would have been a different. I feel like the second half would have gone a lot different. And Cleveland would have been going in with momentum.
Yeah.
And of course they brought it back close. They only lost by what? 5 points, I want to say. Yeah, 5 points.
Let me run a hypothetical by you all since we're on this subject. What do you think would be a good rule replacement for this fumble out of the back of the end zone?
Listen, we're a bunch of stooges here. We don't. I can't think of anything. I guess.
I have an idea.
I think you have one. I don't have one.
I have an idea though.
I saw a couple people on Twitter, and to me this makes sense. I think the team that fumbles it through the end zone should get the ball at the 20-yard line. I mean, I think that makes sense because you've had to work to get all the way down the field. Why does all of a sudden it have to? I mean, think about it. If the ball goes out of bounds anywhere else on the field on a fumble, I mean, where is the ball spotted?
You take it at the spot.
Exactly.
Or why doesn't it? Why doesn't it go to just the one? Right. Because you're fumbling out of the end zone. You're there. Why doesn't it just go to the 1 yard line?
Well, I think that rule is going to be something that they're going to have to change a couple different times because I don't think you're going to be able to go from it's a turnover and it's a touchback to you get to keep the ball at the 1 yard line. I think that's too extreme of a rule change. I think they'll have to do it sort of in stages, and maybe that's maybe next year if we get a preseason. And, something, it doesn't happen often, but if this were to happen, that's where they come up with a couple different ideas for what they want to do. They hopefully get a chance to see it in preseason, make a determination, and then, they're able to, go from there. So that definitely has to change. It's a strict rule.
Yeah, it's just kind of annoying because like they, in football, they tell you have to fight for every yard. Well, that's what he was, it was Higgins, right? Who was trying to make that play, right?
Yeah. It was a hell of a play by Higgins.
He's sitting there fighting for every yard. And just because he fumbled it out of the end zone, trying to break the pylon, it's somehow a turnover. That doesn't make sense to me, Yeah, like I said, my rooting interest is in Kansas City, but like to me, that was absurd. I was pretty livid about that because that costed Cleveland points, and they worked so hard to get to that point. And just because you fumbled it and the ball rolled out of the end zone, somehow it's Kansas City's ball. It should be either you put it at the 1, or it or maybe it goes to the 20-yard line for the team that has it. I just feel like
another thing is like, how are there that many officials on the field and not one not one calls targeting.
There was an official right near that
there.
play.
I mean, right at the pylon. So
how do you not call targeting?
I have no idea.
I don't know because like you guys said, like that was targeting through and through, and they should have called it. That should have been called. They definitely need to make that a reviewable play. Now, the only issue with that is that, you know, we already know how long it takes them to review a play as it is, you know, and imagine them, you know, that's just going to make the games longer and such, but targeting should be reviewable. It should be, it just should be reviewable. Like there shouldn't be any question about it. It shouldn't be, you know, we have to make the call on the field. No, if there's a targeting incident and there's a suspected targeting incident, the ref should be allowed to stop the game and be like, we are going to review this play for targeting.
Yeah.
And if there's targeting, of course, that player needs to be disqualified for the rest of the game and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, if the NFL is really serious about protecting their players, I mean, this is a prime example. You're not doing it in this situation. I mean, first of all, you're using a rule that probably was invented in 1923. That's how old this rule seems. It's so stupid anyway. But
yeah.
And then on top of that, I mean, that it's clear targeting. Like you said, you can't review it, which should be changed. But with all the technology we have, another thing is why does it take so long to do reviews? I mean, especially because some plays are obvious.
Well, it's because remember they do every review goes to the command center in New York. Right. So then those people have to make the determination and talk to them. It's not how it used to be where the ref would go inside the little booth thing and review it himself. It's not how like the XFL or how the AAF did where they had like a person like in a booth at the stadium and they could quickly make the determination, which I feel like the NFL needs to implement.
Right.
You know, just have somebody in the stadium that can quickly, make that decision instead of having just the command center in New York. It takes too long. And
what do they talk to Mike Pereira or something? He's like, well, I'm not really sure. It's like, who are they talking to?
No, they're talking to the stooge. What's his name?
Al Riveron.
Yeah, Al Riveron, who Pat McAfee had such a beef with last season.
Yeah, it's a mess, and it's got to be stuff that's addressed in the off season, and I think
absolutely.
I think definitely you could see. We could possibly see in preseason them try to figure out what they're going to do with that, because it's just a stupid, outdated rule. And yeah, targeting, if they're going to be serious about protecting players, they have to, they have to call it like that. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yep. 100% agree.
Yep. I can't agree more.
Yeah, we got far off this game, but yeah.
We were talking about the game. Like this was an incident that happened in the game.
It's totally a very good point that needed to be discussed, in my opinion. And
before we move on, though, one storyline that nobody really talked about was the fact that this was Kareem Hunt's return to Kansas City game. And he played pretty good.
Yeah, he did. He did. He really did play well, and
he got a nice warm reception when he scored that touchdown too.
Man.
I mean,
this Browns team is good.
I didn't hear anything about that. Kareem Hunt coming back.
Yeah, that was a storyline that really flew under the radar. But another thing I want to touch on is how great was it to have fans back in the stadiums?
Oh, it was great. It was really cool.
It was fantastic.
Especially there. I mean, that's a stadium that's one of the loudest in the NFL time and time again.
Yeah, it's always up there with Seattle.
Yeah, and even with I don't know the exact number of fans that were there, but it was at 15, 20%, something like that.
I can find that real quick.
Decently loud. Just think about how loud it's going to be next year, and how these offensive linemen, especially centers and quarterbacks, are going to have to adjust to trying to get a snap count off in a full building again. It's definitely going to be weird, but yeah, it was really cool to see the fans back, and fingers crossed that we can do 100% capacity next season. I really hope we do.
That would be really nice. That really would be. But I mean, fans in the stands. Kansas City's been doing it all year, I believe, but some places haven't been. Like you saw Washington, they wouldn't allow fans for the playoff game, and
yeah,
that's just something that had to happen. It just depends on what area you're in.
Yeah.
State by state, local guidelines.
The Chiefs had 16,000 people at their game.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
The Bills had 6,700, and the Packers had 6,000.
Wow.
And New Orleans had 3,500.
Wow. Well, yeah, fans in all the stands. It was probably a lot different seeing fans in the stands for most of these players, because for some of the years, some players were playing in empty stadiums. So
yeah, and that's got to be weird. I can't imagine what it was like at the beginning of the season, but yeah, I'm sure those players really enjoyed, especially those Chiefs players really enjoyed having fans back.
Yeah.
Well, the Chiefs have had fans at their stadium since the first game.
Yeah, they've been one of the only teams, I think.
It's been like Aaron Rodgers said today that like this was the most normal game he's ever been a part of, because they actually had a lot of fans in the stadium, and like they made some noise in Green Bay, so he, NFL games and college football games are definitely missing the fans, because they make the atmosphere, and it's a lot more fun when there's a huge crowd involved. And for the Super Bowl, they're talking to, I mean, I think it's already a done deal that they're going to have something like 35,000 in the stadium in Tampa Bay.
They were talking about having vaccinated healthcare workers.
Yeah, it's going to be vaccinated first responders who are going to be there.
Yeah. So that's pretty nice. Unfortunately, we won't have a Super Bowl full of flash bombs going off at opening kickoff, but still.
You don't know that.
Who knows? Maybe they might set the camera crew up somewhere in the stands. But I mean, other than that, I really do like that some fans are getting the opportunity to witness their team in the playoffs.
It's a lot
really
of season
huge.
ticket holders, because obviously
yeah,
they
like
deserve
by
it.
seniority.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. The Chiefs 22, the Browns 17, to the last and final game. Gentlemen, this is probably the last time we see Tom Brady and Drew Brees on a football field together. As reports state, it's not fact yet that Drew Brees will retire. And although in my opinion, this is not a storybook ending if Drew Brees retires, because nothing has been official yet. It's just heartbreaking to see the stat line he put up: 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in what could potentially be his final game as a Saint. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady. I want to say this: Tom Brady's one game away from proving that he does not need Bill Belichick to be successful. But I mean,
he's already proved it. He's already proved it. I mean, he's in the championship game.
Proving it by going to a Super Bowl in his first year.
Where's Bill Belichick? He's on his couch.
I know.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is on his boat. They didn't even make the playoffs. They weren't even close to sniffing the playoffs. This talk of Tom Brady, needs to make the Super Bowl to be more. He's already proved it. He took this Tampa Bay team who, he took them. They haven't made the playoffs since what, 2007?
Yeah.
He's already taken them to the NFC Championship game. I hate this talk of, Tom Brady needs to make. He's already proved it. It's over. Tom Brady was the reason why the Patriots were successful. Who cares?
Well, I just thought that would be the icing on the cake. Like, what if the Buccaneers make it all the way? And you see Bill Belichick sitting at home, Tom Brady hoisting another Lombardi. And it's like, I mean, at the beginning of this year, I was sort of like, does Tom Brady really have it with another team? He's proven to me that he can play until he wants to quit.
Yeah, which doesn't seem to be anytime soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think he's got another. I think he's planning on playing one more season, because he only signed a 2-year deal with Tampa.
Oh, then he might be able to come to Washington, give us some magic.
Oh my, you keep,
yeah, you would love that.
But listen. It was heartbreaking the way Drew Brees finished out. If this was his last game.
Yeah,
was it though? We've seen him,
the last
building
few
up
weeks.
Like I told you guys, I've told you guys for the past few weeks, Drew Brees has a noodle arm. We saw it. I told you guys last week that like he can't pass more than 10 yards.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it anymore. It's over. It's been over. It sucks because the past few years, New Orleans, he's been playing lights out, but this season he just never got going. And of course, he got that serious injury with the collapsed lung and I don't even remember how many broken ribs. Pretty much all his ribs. He
was never the same after that. I don't think he's ever been healthy.
Yeah, it's over. He doesn't have it anymore. He can't throw more than 10 yards. His deep ball is so it has no zip to it anymore.
It's like a punt.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure Tom Brady's older than Drew Brees, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he is.
I believe they're both the same age, but off by like a couple days. Months, not days. But and it's not as if Brady lit up the world in this game either. He was only 18 for 33, 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the thing about Brady is like at least like he can still sling it. We've seen him like have he can still sling it around. It just looks like Drew Brees it looks like he can't even throw past like 20 yards. Like it just does not look good. And it's
the
sad.
ball's kind of it hangs there. It's sad, but like I don't know. I just feel like I'm glad that it's over.
Listen, can we discuss the differences in the ages of the starting quarterbacks going into these games on the NFC side and the AFC side really quick?
Yeah, it's the old heads against the young guns.
Yeah, I mean, the AFC, the quarterback starting 24, 24, 23, 23. Then you have Tom Brady and Drew Brees who are like 43, Aaron Rodgers who is in his 40s, and then you just have Jared Goff.
Yeah, combined age.
It's crazy.
Yeah, combined age of Brady and Brees is 85. That's crazy.
Dan, I have a quick question. Why wasn't this game simulcasted on the History Channel?
That is an old joke, man. You saw that on every social media, man. Come on.
Well, hey, they put a game on Nickelodeon. Why not the History Channel, baby?
Yeah, have what's his name? Morgan Freeman carried over it.
Brady throws the
Morgan Freeman.
It's
and
caught
Brady
by
throws the
Cameron
ball.
Brate. Here comes my favorite, Drew Brees.
Leonard Fournette runs the ball.
Hey, but another thing, we saw Jameis Winston sling it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he threw
They
pass.
they stole the play from the Bears.
Yeah. I thought
that was awesome. But
thought that was crazy.
Yeah, but they successfully ran it because they actually
ran it
scored a
to
touchdown on
perfection.
that.
Yeah.
They actually
And
scored
the
the touchdown
Bears
where
just choked and did not catch it.
Well, it's the
he
Bears.
dropped the ball. I mean, the Bears is the Bears. That's the Browns is the Browns. It's the Bears is the Bears.
They don't call them the Bad News Bears for nothing.
Yeah.
God, they suck.
But
Trubisky stinks. I don't want to get into that.
I mean, this game turnovers mainly shot the Saints in the foot, and the Buccaneers fans are happy, going crazy. I know some relatives who are actually Bucs fans, and they're really excited that this Tampa Bay team is heading to the NFC Championship game. And as you know, it's Brady versus Rodgers in the frozen tundra. And,
well, back to your point about the turnovers. I heard this interesting stat the other day, how in the 2 regular season games the Saints won, or that the Saints won earlier this year, they won the turnover margin, and it was like +3 in the week 1 matchup and like +1 in the second one, and the Bucs basically flipped it and were +4 in the turnover margin. That's what like changed the whole game for Tampa Bay this go around. And it's not as if Tampa Bay Tampa Bay was losing at one point. What was it? No, it was 13-13 at halftime.
It was tied at halftime.
Yeah, it was tied at halftime, but it felt like at one point it could go either way.
I could feel that too.
Tampa Bay eventually got going. And of course, all the turnovers, again, Drew Brees throwing how many he threw? What, three interceptions?
Three picks, one touchdown and 3 picks.
And that's what I'm saying is that, like, just he's just not good anymore. Unfortunately, like, he's got a great, and he's going to do good things at NBC. Hopefully, when he eventually does make it official that he's retired. And of course, according to Jay Glazer, like, this is it.
Jay Glazer.
Yeah. but like, that's been the rumor all year. Like, it feels like it's just something known, is that, like, Brees is done and Brady is he's here in the NFC Championship. I saw another funny stat of how Brady has been in the NFC 1 year and is already in the NFC Championship game, and the Cowboys haven't been back since like 1997. I was like, God damn it!
I saw that stat too, and I started
leave
laughing.
my Cowboys out of it. We have suffered enough. We know that this is BS. And Dak Prescott actually commented on it. He said, "Hold my crutches."
I mean,
but
that was incredible though. I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's something they would pull out because it is the Dallas Cowboys. And
listen, any way to take a shot at the Dallas Cowboys, it's fair game. Again, we always have hype every year coming into every season, and then we just fall on our face in the at the latest the divisional round.
NFC Championship game since 1997, Brady 1, Dallas 0. Years in the NFC since 1997, Tom Brady 1, Dallas 24.
Since 97. It's
fucking nuts. I just cracked up laughing. I was like, yeah, that's a classic going against the Cowboys meme, because you know how bad the Cowboys.
When is the last time Washington was in the NFC Championship?
I don't. They should have put that, but I'm not sure why they didn't.
Because the Cowboys are
always
the most hated team in the NFL.
We're the most hated team, yet we have the biggest fan base. Yeah. But we're the most annoying fan base of all time.
Yeah. I'm glad you can acknowledge that, Carlos. Thank you.
Listen, I'm a reasonable Cowboys fan. I'm a realist. Yeah. I already know that my team is not good right now. We're not in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Tom Brady and Rodgers, that's the matchup, but it sucks to see Drew Brees go off like this, but there's one place in Canton, Ohio called the Pro Football Hall of Fame waiting for Drew Brees. He will be there. No doubt about it.
No doubt.
To the fact of Drew Brees is also another like Aaron Rodgers, where like Drew Brees definitely deserved more Super Bowls than just the one he won.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had
beating
so many
Manning too.
Yeah, they had so many heartbreaking losses in the playoff. A lot of them, like, because like remember 2 years ago it was the pass interference call that never got called.
Yeah.
Last year was they got shocked by Minnesota. I'm pretty sure there was a push off there.
The Minneapolis.
Then there's the Minneapolis Miracle also like 3 years ago. It just sucks because like they've been so close, just like Aaron Rodgers has. He's been so close also, and then they just slip up, or like they've had the refs against them. So like it does suck for Drew Brees that he's going to retire with just one when he definitely deserves more, especially for how great of a quarterback he has been and how much he has like changed the city of New Orleans, like gave him hope after Katrina and all that stuff. But like you said, Canton, Ohio's waiting for him. He's got a lucrative job at NBC waiting for him, where he's going to eventually take over for Chris Collinsworth for Sunday Night Football. He's in good hands.
Yeah, I didn't even hear anything about that deal till you told me. Like, I didn't know you could actually pre-sign certain athletes to come join them after they retire. But I
think
high
that's
profile,
cool. You can do it. That's just how it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the Bucks 30, the Saints 20. Any last thoughts on this game, gentlemen?
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, the Bucks deserve this, and Tom Brady has shown a lot, and the weapons he had and made it work. Fournette played pretty well, in my opinion. He had 63 yards on the ground and 44 yards in the air. So But it comes down to is Tom Brady and the Bucs going to be able to withstand the cold of Lambeau Field?
No.
That's my question. We talked about this earlier, temperature changes with Los Angeles and Green Bay, but what about Tampa, Florida? Who knows if that can even play a factor? But other than that, 30-20, the Bucs over the Saints. It's time now to preview the final two games, the AFC and the NFC Championship game. And we will start, as I said before, the Bucs and the Packers, the 5 seed against the number 1 seed. Gentlemen, who do we like in this game?
Dan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I like the Packers. I mean, I think they've been the hottest team in the NFC for a long time, for most of this season. And you're really seeing Rodgers click, like I mentioned earlier, with his receivers, and their defense has played pretty well too. So I don't think Brady has enough in the tank to go up there and win. I do think it's going to be a good game. But I do think the Packers pull it out. And I think it's Aaron Rodgers is going to be the headline in this game. I think that's it. I mean, that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the Packers are for sure the favorites. I got the Packers winning this game too. Like you said, I think the weather's definitely going to be a factor. I think Tom Brady's going to be fine because all in all, he's played in New England for years, and New England's pretty cold. But I think that this might be too big of a moment for the rest of the team because the rest of the team hasn't really been here. This is Tampa's first conference championship game since like 2003. When they, or I think it was 2003. I don't remember. Whatever the year it was that they won the Super Bowl.
It was 2002.
Don
yeah.
Gruden. Yeah. So, they haven't, this is a team, a franchise that has never really been here in decades, essentially. So I got Green Bay winning. I think the game will, I don't know how close the game. I think the Packers will win by 10 at the least. And yeah, I mean, Aaron, like you said, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the story of this game. I think he's going to ball out and he's going to blow Brady out of the water.
I have to go Packers. I mean, the Bucs, I think if the cold weather plays a factor, I think that they can give the Packers a run for their money, but I think the Packers take it. There's no doubt in my mind that I think the Packers take it.
Yep.
All right, so what about the AFC Championship game, the 2 seed Bills to the number 1 seed Chiefs? Who do we see in this game?
This one's really tough.
Yeah, I have Buffalo. I don't think Mahomes is going to play. I think this injury is more serious than they're letting on. They're not giving a lot of information, and normally that's not a good sign. And this, even if it's a mild nerve injury, this is it was a neck injury. And those are certainly something you can't really take a chance with. So I think even with all the weapons around that are around Mahomes, I don't know if they can win without Mahomes, just because he's Mahomes, and he only threw 9 incomplete passes in the time that he played, and literally was almost perfect time and time again. I think he's a big loss, and I just think it's the Bills' time. I mean, they have, they've been trying to get back into the Super Bowl since the 90s. They lost 4 straight Super Bowls. Maybe this is the year they finally win this game and get back and maybe win the Super Bowl. But I have the Bills, and right now the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite. But like we've all said, I think it really depends on if Mahomes is going to play or not.
The odds in Vegas will change if Mahomes is ruled out.
No doubt. Yeah, I just think the Bills have peaked at the right time, and I think they really are the hottest team in the NFL. And I do think they'll win this game.
Yeah. This is a tricky game because it just all depends on whether Patrick Mahomes plays or not. If Patrick Mahomes plays and he's, and it's not a serious, like neck nerve injury that's going to really affect him. And then on top of that, his toe is fine because don't forget he did hurt his toe also. But apparently on that front, he's fine. I think the Chiefs have the better shot at winning. This game is such a toss-up because this is definitely like the championship game right here. With like the two best teams in the AFC. Like there's no question it was the Bills and the Chiefs. It just sucks that right now it's kind of in limbo as to figuring out whether Patrick Mahomes is going to be healthy or not. I wish he was healthy. The other question is Sammy Watkins going to play? Well, we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not going to play because he's out.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Hey, one thing we didn't touch on is what is going on. What has happened to Le'Veon Bell? Like he has completely like disappeared. Like he did not have a good game against the Browns, and I thought he was going to be like the main key starter.
I thought so too,
and like they went with what's his name, Williams more.
I'm not sure. I thought they would rely more on Le'Veon Bell, but I was very surprised. I don't know if that changes in this game this next week, but I feel like the Chiefs would be beneficial for the Chiefs.
Yeah. So for me, for this game, it just depends. If Patrick Mahomes plays, I'll take the Chiefs in a close one. It'll be a shootout. It'll be a very intense game. But because they're going to be in Arrowhead and they're going to have a majority of they're going to have 16,000 fans there, I'll take the Chiefs if Mahomes plays. If Mahomes doesn't play, the Bills are going to win this handily, in my opinion, because offensively, I don't know if Chad Henne can really. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He can't do the same things. Mahomes makes magic happen. He does the impossible, and Henne's just not that guy. So for me, I'll go with the Chiefs if Mahomes plays. If Mahomes doesn't play, it's going to be the Bills.
And I mean, as much as I'd love to see the Chiefs repeat, I think the Bills will take this. It's going to be a close one, but I think the Bills deserve this opportunity to be back in where they belong. And their fans will be waiting for this. Their fans have been waiting years for this. And with the uncertainty of Patrick Mahomes, I think it's gonna have to be the Bills. That's just my prediction. I would not be surprised though if the Chiefs were to win. If Patrick Mahomes were to be cleared to play this game, I would not be surprised if the Chiefs win. But I think the Bills take this.
Yeah. Like I said, it just for me, it all depends on whether Patrick Mahomes plays or not. But so you think the Super Bowl is going to be the Packers and Bills. I think it's going to be the Packers and Chiefs. And then also Dan thinks it's going to be Packers and Bills.
Yep. So it's a heavy favorite for the Bills right now because, in my opinion, because we don't know the uncertainty of whether Mahomes is going to play or not. But once it gets closer to game time, then we'll find out, I'm sure. And then all the headlines will come out and stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, my guess is they're probably going to keep this under wraps as to whether he's going to play or not until, I want to say Saturday or maybe even Sunday is when we're going to find out. I think we're going to have to wait a long time to figure out if Mahomes is going to be healthy or not. Because I think they just want to give him enough time to, heal up and get out of the concussion protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. So those are our predictions for the NFC and AFC Championship game. That's next week. Be sure to stick with us for next week's podcast. We'll go in depth on that as well. So wrapping up the show, we're going to do something a little bit different. We did this once before. I actually forget what the segment name was called, but
we just called it Fight Talk.
Fight Talk. And we have another big fight that Carlos wants to talk about. So we have another Conor McGregor, some Conor McGregor action coming up. What do you have for us, Carlos?
Well, last time we did the segment was exactly about a year ago because this was around the time that Conor was going to fight again last year. So this weekend is UFC 257, the return of, the king of MMA, or the king of the fight game, basically, Conor McGregor. He's coming back since to fight a familiar opponent in Dustin Poirier, and yeah, this is a rematch from a fight that they had, I think it was 7.5 years ago, in which when Conor beat him the first time, he knocked him out in the first round. It really launched Conor into like superstardom. And now, it's been a year since his last fight, and here he is. He's going to fight Dustin Poirier again. They're two totally different fighters from the first time, and it's going to be a great fight. Conor has, fresh off of the knockout of Cowboy Cerrone last year, was intending to fight, 3 times last year, and then obviously COVID happened, and it didn't, nothing came of it. He retired, but we all knew he wasn't retired. And then, he challenged Dustin Poirier to a charity boxing fight, in which all the proceeds would go to Dustin Poirier's charity foundation, which helps a lot of underprivileged kids, I think, in New Orleans or Louisiana, Lafayette area. And of course, that turned into the UFC actually offering them like a legitimate fight. And Conor McGregor's still going to donate $500,000. No, not 500. I think it might be $500,000 to Dustin Poirier's charity foundation. But also, like, another thing on this, that's kind of lingering over this is obviously Khabib Nurmagomedov, whether he's gonna, what he wants is for somebody this weekend to like impress him and make him come out of retirement. If he doesn't, like, he'll probably vacate the title, and the winner of this fight between Dustin and Conor is probably going to fight for the title next.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about I'm not going to even begin to pronounce his name because it's
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Thank you. He went into retirement because he said he couldn't fight anymore without his father. Obviously, his father passed away. So I forget how long ago that was, Carlos, but
that was that all happened in October.
Yeah. So what did you think about that? Because we didn't. It's funny, we did this exact same segment about a year ago. So what were your thoughts on that?
So, I was actually shocked that he did it. I was in. I didn't even actually I was in Morgantown when that happened. I was visiting, Andrea down there. And I tuned into the fight real quick. And when he completely knocked out, he completely dominated Justin Gaethje, who he was fighting at the time. And he looks so good, really, really good, better than he's ever looked. And then all of a sudden he retires. And I get it. Khabib had a very, very close relationship with his father. His father was really big in his in his camp. So he listened to his father a lot, really turned to him for advice. His father, of course, trained him for a little bit, and really has the respect of a lot of people around. And Khabib was very, very close to him, and it just felt weird not having him there for that fight. And he talked to his mom, and his mom had made him promise to never fight again without she didn't want him to fight without his dad. And Khabib said that he made her a promise, but Dana White, the president of the UFC, thought that it was a emotional decision, and he just needed to kind of sit there and really think. And they talked this past weekend behind closed doors, and he announced on Saturday during their UFC card on ABC, which was electric, by the way, that basically what he said was that these guys this upcoming weekend need to show him something that's going to make him want to come out and fight them, which, pretty much to me says that he basically said, I'm not coming back unless, there's, you guys offer me the right amount of money.
So there's a chance he could come out of retirement.
It's a possibility. The only problem is that one, he hates Conor's guts. He doesn't want to fight him again because he just doesn't want to, when they fought the first time 3 years ago, it was it was one of the darker buildups to a fight. It was very, very personal. They do not like each other one bit. Their first press conferences was one of the darkest press conferences you'll ever see. Even Dana White said it. He was like, that just did not go well. Obviously, then they fought. Khabib won, and then Khabib jumped out of the cage and jumped into the crowd and started fighting some of Conor's teammates. And then, some of Khabib's team got into the octagon and started fighting with Conor, and it was just pandemonium. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in a UFC fight. And Khabib just feels like that Conor just doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve a chance to fight him again or whatever. And then he's already fought Dustin Poirier. Also, he fought him. I believe it was last year. He fought him again, and he pretty much dominated him. So he just feels like, Dustin Poirier is not at the same level. There's another fight on this card in the co-main event between Dan Hooker and a guy named Michael Chandler, who Michael Chandler's, this is his first fight in the UFC. He's been a champion in other organizations. He's been considered one of the best lightweights, but we'll see if one of those guys can really do it. I just don't think anybody's really going to get Khabib's juices flowing unless the UFC offers him, unless Conor wins and the UFC says, here, we're going to pay you like this crazy amount of money to take because that's the UFC's dream. They want the rematch between Khabib and Conor because they know that'll make big money. They sold so many pay-per-views the first time around. They sold over 2 million pay-per-views for their first fight. And the thought is that if they ever had a rematch, it would be over 4 million.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. In my opinion, I mean, I don't know much about fighting, but I follow it occasionally. So wrapping this segment up, what did you see was really a change in fighting when this pandemic started?
When the pandemic started,
was it like a complete halt, or were they still doing fights, or what happened?
So the UFC was one of the first sports organizations to really come back before anybody else. They quickly figured it out. This fight is obviously taking place on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, which is, basically what the UFC has done is they have created two bubbles. They've created one in Las Vegas because they have their own arena on their they basically have their own arena. It's called the UFC Apex, which they film the Dana White's Contender Series, where they bring a bunch of people outside of the UFC. They bring them in for basically a tryout, essentially, where they fight another opponent, and if they look good, they get a contract to be in the UFC. So they built this a few years ago for that, and of course it's come in handy because now they can just create a bubble. They keep the fighters there, and there've been no crowds lately. And then they obviously got Fight Island going over in Abu Dhabi for the international fighters because obviously a lot of people can't really travel into the U.S. and that's where this fight is going to take place, is there. And they just built a brand new arena called the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, and they're going to have somewhere around 2,000 fans there for this fight. But really, they have this whole section of that island quarantined off from the general public, in which you can't get in unless you have unless you're credentialed to be in there. And they have hotels, they have stores and shops and restaurants and stuff, and of course they have the arena there too. So yeah, it never really stopped. A few fighters had a tough time, obviously, being allowed to train because a lot of them couldn't, by the quarantine stuff going on, they couldn't go to their gyms and stuff. But for the most part, the fights have been pretty great. In fact, I want to say last year was one of the best years that the UFC has had. They had great fights, and honestly, not having fans in the arena actually kind of made the fights a lot better because you could hear every single shot, and it was a lot more intense.
Absolutely. So, Carlos, the time is about up here, but still, I want to get another one of these segments in soon. A lot of great insight on the UFC from none other than Carlos Martinez. And with that, it about wraps up another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Gentlemen, are we ready for Championship Sunday?
Dude, this weekend is going to be freaking epic. We
man.
got the 2 championship games. We got the Conor fight on Saturday. It feels like these are the 4 teams that should have been in the championship games. I'm hyped.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. You get to see 2 old pros go at it and 2 young guns, supposedly if Mahomes plays. So I'm excited. You got the retirement community and you have the and
you got the frat house.
And you got the frat house.
You got the frat house.
Exactly.
Oh, man. That was funny. A great way to end the show. But gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me once again. And we'll be back next week, the same 3. For Dan and Carlos, I'm Josh. As always, we're sponsored by Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, and Shenandoah Primitives. Big thanks, as always, to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for all their support as well. Make sure you check the Kirby on Sports podcast out on all streaming platforms, anchor.fm/the Kirby on Sports podcast. And if you haven't yet, check out the new and improved Kirby on Sports podcast YouTube page, where we post a lot of exclusive content and so much more. Once again, for Dan and Carlos, I'm Josh. Until the next episode, we say so long and peace out.